For years, a silent anomaly has moved through the deep cold of our solar system, an object that refuses to obey the basic laws of gravity, physics, and expectation. It was initially classified as a comet, a simple rock, a random visitor from another star system, drifting harmlessly through the void. We were repeatedly told that this massive interstellar object, 3I My Atlas, posed no threat and carried no secrets, just a mundane lump of ice and dust. Yet, with every new piece of data gathered by the most powerful scientific instruments ever conceived, that official narrative has utterly crumbled. Now, after months of intense analysis, the James Webb Space Telescope has finally provided the definitive evidence, confirming the impossible truth about the third interstellar object we have ever recorded. This object, designated 3I Atlas, was never just passing by. It arrived with a precise trajectory, a controlled deceleration, and a clandestine purpose so profound it has sent every major space agency in the world into an immediate, unprecedented lockdown. It isn't a mystery anymore, not entirely, because what it is doing now and what that action has awakened is a story darker and far more deliberate than any of us expected. You are about to see the irrefutable evidence that proves we were right to question the official story and why the truth about an artificial presence in our solar system is no longer deniable. The discovery is here. If discovery is your thing, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you never miss what the universe reveals next. The true story, the one intentionally buried beneath layers of bureaucratic deflection, began with an almost comical lack of drama, a tiny, unsettling anomaly in an astronomical log. It wasn't heralded by an explosion. It wasn't announced with a press conference. It was a small, cryptic, technical note. Unusual non-gravitational acceleration detected in Object 3 Atlas. That single sentence, easily missed, became the genesis of a global panic and the start of something monumental. It was a line of data that immediately shredded the textbook understanding of how large, unguided objects are supposed to move through the universe, suggesting an internal force was at work. The object was subsequently given a harmless technical name, 3I Atlas, designating it as the third interstellar visitor humanity had ever recorded, after Oumuamua and Borisov. Authorities and official channels quickly classified it as a comet. They insisted it was natural, a common, if distant, phenomenon. The public narrative was simple: just another lump of ice and dust, naturally drifting from some far-off star system. But instantly, every data point collected shouted a clear contradiction. Nothing about 3I Atlas was normal, not its size, not its speed, and certainly not its behavior as it cruised toward the inner solar system. The sheer path it took across the void of interstellar space defied all known models of purely random motion, governed only by gravity. It entered our system at a trajectory that placed it only 5 degrees off the orbital plane of our planets. That thin, flat disk of space where every world orbits the sun. For a body originating in the random, three-dimensional chaos of interstellar space, this precise inclination suggests intent. This simply should not happen by accident. Random objects should arrive from anywhere and everywhere. Why did this one arrive precisely on our plane, almost perfectly aligned, as if it were deliberately executing a targeted entry maneuver? The complex mathematics of pure chance do not support such an event occurring randomly. The specialized voices in observatories, the scientists who prioritize data, ran the probabilities. The odds of a random interstellar object entering our system and aligning itself so perfectly with the orbital plane were calculated at a minuscule 0.2%. Extremely unlikely, the scientists concluded. This statistical anomaly was the first major red flag, immediately confirmed by the second, even more concrete one. Experts measured the sheer size of 3I Atlas. Oumuamua, the first interstellar visitor, was just a few hundred meters long. Borisov was smaller still. These small wanderers were easily pulled by gravity, making their transit reasonable. But this thing, 3I Atlas, was something else entirely. Initial measurements placed its diameter at over 3 miles wide. It was wider than Manhattan Island, a floating mountain of rock, dust, and something unknown. A natural object this massive, entering our system and adhering to such a tight orbital inclination, was suspicious enough. Yet the size was still secondary to the most disturbing evidence: what it was actively doing as it approached our sun. As 3I Atlas drew closer to the center of our solar system, astronomers waited for the familiar. Heat should vaporize surface ice, creating a tail of streaming dust and gas. According to the foundational rules of physics, that tail should always face away from the sun, constantly blown outward by the pressure of the solar wind. This is the rule for every comet. But 3I Atlas simply refused to obey. The latest infrared images from the James Webb Space Telescope revealed something unprecedented. It showed a focused, narrow beam shooting out of the object, pointed directly at the sun, a deliberate, impossible act against the entire force of the solar wind. This was a jet of energy or material moving precisely against the flow of solar radiation, defying every known law of nature. Rocks do not fire jets toward stars, but spacecraft do. The conclusion was immediate and unavoidable. That was the moment the word no one wanted to say began to be whispered in private labs. It was the only word that accurately and concisely explained the totality of the collected data. Artificial. Something or someone engineered it. Something or someone launched it, gave it a flight plan, and sent it on an intentional journey. And this decisive discovery occurred well before its closest approach to Mars, before the strange, system-wide shutdown, before the appearance of the mysterious rhythmic signal, and before we realized that we were never alone. The deeper scientists looked at 3I Atlas, the more the comet narrative dissolved. It behaved as if following a programmed set of instructions, like a machine executing a detailed flight path. It moved with certainty. Soon, it would be subjected to the scrutiny of the James Webb Space Telescope. But before that major observation could happen, something else occurred. Something totally unexpected and impossible to explain away. The first people to notice this precursor event were not NASA scientists. This crucial initial discovery came from someone entirely outside the official system, an amateur astronomer named Stephen Burns. He owned a modest, home-built observatory in New Zealand. On October 15, 2025, something appeared in one of his routine sky captures near Mars, something he never intended to find. It was a streak of emerald green light moving across the Martian sky at an impossible, hyper-fast speed, nearly 60 kilometers per second. This was well over the speed of any known orbital debris or meteor. It was faster than anything that should have been there, particularly given its straight, controlled line of travel. Burns, suspecting a glitch, meticulously restacked and cleaned the raw images. The streak did not vanish. It was irrefutably real. A thin, razor-sharp beam of light or motion crossed the frame in a single second. Too straight to be natural, too clean to be random, and too deliberate in its movement to be ignored. Quietly, Burns posted the footage online with a simple title: Unidentified Motion over Mars. Need help verifying. When he woke up, the internet was in full meltdown. Astrophotographers ran motion analysis. Engineers calculated trajectory angles. The consensus was swift and chilling. It was not a glitch. It was a real, solid object, and its calculated trajectory confirmed it was heading in the same direction and on the same path as 3I Atlas. Within 20 hours, the footage had been picked up by mainstream news channels. And then, suddenly, inexplicably, it completely vanished. The original post was removed. All re-uploads were scrubbed. Even scraped archive links went instantly dead. Every single trace of Stephen Burns' video, a piece of irrefutable evidence, disappeared in real time. Someone, somewhere, possessed the global power to erase all digital evidence in an instant. But they were too late. The internet had already copied the footage thousands of times, spreading it to decentralized, encrypted networks that cannot be censored. That's when the community began noticing the second, even more profound problem. It wasn't just Stephan's video that disappeared. Mars itself went dark. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter went abruptly silent. The Trace Gas Orbiter went silent. Mars Express went silent. All of them stopped sending raw data at the exact same timestamp that Stephan's footage was captured. Astronomers also noticed that even the feed from the Perseverance rover on the surface had cut out at the same precise moment. They were not damaged. They were not offline. They were shut down. A cold, calculated, coordinated systems halt. The official reason given for the sudden silence was vague: a data backlog. The unofficial reality, understood by every engineer, was that something catastrophic had happened near Mars, something they desperately didn't want the world to see. Silence in space is rarely accidental. When every orbiter around Mars and one surface rover stop transmitting at the exact same moment, that is not a malfunction. That is a blackout, a deliberate, coordinated, and terrifying one. A cryptic phrase immediately began to spread inside closed space communities: Mars Event Zero. No one knew precisely what had occurred beneath the veil of silence, but everyone knew precisely when it happened. At the exact moment, an unknown, high-speed object crossed the Martian sky, and at the exact moment, 3I Atlas reached Mars's orbital path. No one who understands space believes in that kind of perfect coincidence. Stephan Burns, utterly confused, posted one quiet final message online: "Why did my video get removed? I didn't break any rules. I just filmed the sky." Minutes later, Stephan vanished from all public view. His accounts froze. His phone disconnected. His observatory cameras shut off permanently. The man who accidentally recorded the most important astronomical event in modern history never spoke a public word again. Then something new surfaced: a devastating leak. A collection of corrupted data packets appeared anonymously across various dark research forums. The files were tagged with an origin code used exclusively by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. If authentic, these packets came directly from inside the Mars network, captured just seconds before the coordinated blackout began. Most of the packets were digital junk data, but one, miraculously, survived. It was a single, extremely low-resolution image frame. People decrypted it, cleaned it, and upscaled it. When the digital noise finally cleared, they saw a faint green arc at the edge of the Martian horizon, like something deliberately slowing down and entering the planet's shadow. It was not a meteor. It did not fragment or burn up. Whatever it was, it dramatically, intentionally slowed down. a complex maneuver that natural objects in space simply do not perform. Then, a second, equally damning leak appeared from inside ESA, the European Space Agency. It was a single line from an internal email thread. Non-random maneuver detected. Recommend immediate classification. Do not release to public archives. Non-random maneuver. The words were printed, time-stamped, and undeniable. Something flew past Mars that night. Something controlled, something intelligent, and it was headed precisely in the same trajectory as 3I Atlas. But the most dangerous answers came from the people willing to risk their careers. Two scientists, in an extraordinary act of defiance, stepped forward anonymously, using the aliases Solace and Kepler Node. They claimed access to compromised Mars telemetry data captured just before the lockdown. They asserted that 3I Atlas was not a solitary object. Their leaked analysis claimed there were at least 3 other objects, small, dark, and nearly invisible, moving with it in a perfect, synchronized formation. They were not random space rocks. They were precise. They were aligned. They maintained equal spacing between them. They changed speed together, behaving exactly like escorts or components of a single larger system. One chilling line from Solace summed up the finding best. You're not looking at one object. You're looking at a vehicle cluster. Vehicle cluster. 3I Atlas, therefore, could not be a comet. It may be a command ship, or worse, a carrier vessel, and it had just entered the inner part of our solar system. When any object enters our solar system, we track it, log its position, and broadcast the data to every global observatory. That used to be the rule, but it ceased to be true the moment the Mars blackout occurred. Public data around 3I Atlas stopped updating. Public trackers froze. The NASA Small Body Database simply displayed a cryptic status, trajectory recalculating. It flashed recalculating over and over for days. Natural comets do not require recalculations every few hours. Their paths are stable, predictable, and purely gravitational, unless something is actively, internally altering that path. Officials responded with scripted deflection, software issue, telemetry sync delay. But out there, in the silent space between Mars and the asteroid belt, 3I Atlas decisively and subtly changed direction. It was a minute course shift, a 0.04% course shift. It was small enough to be dismissed as a sensor error, but it was mathematically precise enough to matter. Independent astronomers in Chile cross-checked historical sky survey data and found that 3I Atlas had nudged its path not toward Jupiter, but slightly, deliberately inward toward the Sun. Planets follow gravity. Comets follow gravity. This was navigation. The whisper networks inside the astronomy community grew louder. This thing is adjusting its course. Something is powering it. There was only one instrument powerful enough to confirm this theory: the James Webb Space Telescope. People often think Webb is just a camera, but its true power lies in its forensic capabilities. It is designed to tear celestial objects apart by their light signatures, revealing their exact chemical composition. When Webb finally turned its massive gaze toward 3I Atlas, scientists expected to see a dirty snowball. They found something else entirely. The outer shell of the object was not uniform. It was not a natural formation. It possessed patterned reflectivity, regions of distinct material arranged in a structured, repeating grid, exactly like engineered plating. This was the first monumental clue. There was more. Webb detected a high signature of carbon dioxide gas around the object. Fine, that could be comet outgassing, but it detected almost no water vapor. This finding was physically impossible for a traditional comet which is made up primarily of water ice. It was an active process that excluded the very nature of what it was supposed to be. Then came the third, final, and most damning clue. Webb detected the unmistakable chemical signature of refined nickel. Not naturally occurring nickel ore. Refined nickel. Clean, pure, industrial-grade nickel. The kind used in high-performance spacecraft shielding. Nickel that does not, under any circumstances, occur in that pure form in nature. Nickel that had to be put there by an industrial, intelligent process. The official press releases glossed over this. They admitted some interesting spectral anomalies. They stated Webb required further calibration. But a leaked internal analysis from a Webb spectrograph engineer told the absolute truth. Either this thing formed in an industrial zone of another star system, or somebody made it. And that was only the very beginning. 3 days after the chemical signature leak, Webb found something even stranger. The light bouncing off the object was polarized backward. An anti-sunward jet, artificial metals, impossible trajectory, reversed light behavior. Nothing about 3I Atlas made any sense unless we decisively stopped calling it a comet. We were looking at technology. If 3I Atlas were merely a massive, inert object drifting through space, we could ignore it. But it is not drifting. It is not passive. It is actively operating. Right after the Webb spectral scan leaked, another piece of evidence emerged from radio astronomers who were listening to it. The first detection came from the Deep Space Network, DSN, in Goldstone, California. It picked up something incredibly faint, a pulse, repeating with a relentless, mechanical regularity every 22 seconds. Weak, but undeniably structured. Static doesn't repeat with precision. The natural background hum of space does not repeat anything on a perfect clockwork rhythm by accident. Why did this signal? It echoed on a perfect rhythm, again and again, with no drift. Astronomers initially suspected an instrument glitch, until the same exact 22-second pulse was picked up on 3 different continents: Goldstone, Canberra, and Madrid. It wasn't a transmission. It was a definite, deliberate pattern. The rhythm reacted to something external. It sped up slightly when 3I Atlas neared Mars. It slowed slightly when its trajectory shifted inward. It synchronized exactly with the object's active motion. This was not a comet. It was a machine. It was something listening, something tracking, something operating. Inside NASA, it was officially classified as electromagnetic resonance. But one engineer described it accurately in a private message. It's not a signal. It's a system check. Whatever that object is, it is not just passively moving. It is actively, consciously operating and confirming its status. Then the pulse stopped. Subtly. Just gone. For a brief moment, it felt like the event was over. But the people who were truly listening kept recording data. And that's when they made a terrifying second discovery. 3I Atlas was far from alone. Tucked inside the last vestiges of the radio stream were tiny blips, barely detectable, moving with it. 2 incredibly faint, synchronized objects, one in front, one behind, moving in perfect synchronization. Whatever 3I Atlas was, it was no longer a single object. It was a formation. 2 smaller companions, drones, probes, or guards, were traveling with it at the same speed, with the same rhythm, and with the same impossible precision. New data arrived from the Martian orbiters. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, MRO, was the first to see it. During a scheduled tracking pass, its high-resolution camera captured something entirely unexpected. 3I Atlas and 2 smaller, perfectly synchronized companions. one slightly ahead, one trailing behind, holding perfect, controlled distance. The most disturbing part was that each of the smaller objects pulsed faintly, just like the 22-second rhythm detected on Earth. The beats were in sync. Webb confirmed this visual finding 20 hours later. Infrared imaging revealed incredibly narrow, subtle filaments between the objects, tiny arcs of ionized energy. Something, energy, data, electricity, was actively being transmitted and shared between them. NASA marked the discovery as unusual plasma interaction. The European Space Agency called it cohesive dust behavior. But one anonymous analyst inside JPL summarized the finding plainly. "We are looking at a networked structure. This is not a comet cluster. This is a coordinated system." Before anyone on Earth could fully digest the implications of a networked system entering our solar system, the behavior of the artifact changed again. For the first time, 3I Atlas decisively altered its course away from the simple, predictable Newtonian path. It was just a fraction of a degree, a minute course shift, but it was mathematically precise and completely impossible for a natural object. It angled slightly, but deliberately, toward Earth. Space agencies immediately scrambled into a higher-level lockdown. Raw starfield data from the Mars orbiters stopped uploading publicly. Observation logs vanished from public servers. But it was already too late, because an amateur astronomer in Chile caught what NASA didn't want the world to see. The small companion objects moved deliberately. As 3I Atlas reoriented itself toward Earth, the two smaller objects drifted forward, accelerated, and broke formation from the main vessel. They headed directly into Mars orbit. Within just 12 hours of the trajectory shift, the two faint companions slipped quietly into Martian orbit. No official announcement was made, but something strange, something systemically destructive, started happening immediately on and around Mars. The entire Martian space went dark. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter began returning corrupted images. Stars vanished from the sky behind Mars. Entire data packets came back as blank transmission blocks, as if something was actively, surgically, wiping the sky clean of information. Then the glitches spread. The ESA's trace gas orbiter stopped sending raw atmospheric readings. India's Mars orbiter mission flickered offline. MAVEN, NASA's atmospheric monitor, reported a sudden surge of unexpected electromagnetic interference. And then the worst-case scenario happened. The Perseverance rover on the surface went completely silent. Not a malfunction. It just stopped. One moment the rover was scanning the Jezero crater like normal. The next minute, it froze mid-operation, its cameras and communication systems dead. At nearly the exact same time, China's Zhurong rover also stopped transmitting entirely. Two rovers on opposite sides of Mars, from two different world powers, going silent within the exact same hour, immediately after two unidentified artificial objects entered orbit. That is not a coincidence. Somebody or something disabled them. The last image Perseverance captured before its systems halt leaked from an internal telemetry lock. It showed a strip of the Martian horizon and a single faint green flash hovering high in the atmosphere. That flash didn't come from Mars. It came from the sky, maybe from orbit, the last ghost of an external, hostile presence. Then came the most chilling part. A faint, repeating signal began echoing through the deep space network again, every 22 seconds. The exact same rhythm that 3I Atlas had been pulsing, except now, it wasn't coming from deep space anymore. It was coming from Mars. Whatever arrived in that orbit was now actively transmitting, and it was no longer alone, because new objects, small, faint, and metallic, began appearing around Mars, one by one, like a swarm activating. They were deploying. For hours, the signal kept repeating from Mars, a low, pulsing hum. After enough filtering, the pattern clearly emerged. Every 22 seconds. Precise. Mechanical. Intentional. It was not random. It was not natural. And strangest of all, it wasn't broadcasting outward. It was broadcasting down, toward Mars itself, like it was actively initiating or activating something on the planet's surface or deep beneath it. NASA maintained total silence. But inside Mission Control, engineers were working desperately. Something was actively interfering, not just with the equipment, but with the very physics of the area. Signals began bending, refracting, and wrapping around Mars, as if space-time there had thickened. Spectrometers went blind. Navigation systems went blind. And then Earth felt the effects too, a distant echo of the chaos at Mars. Preview. Bridge. What the Arecibo substitute system saw next wasn't noise. It was a pure, intelligent message. A complex mathematical symbol that targeted 3 forbidden locations on our planet, proving the network was live. The first strange readings appeared at the Arecibo Observatory Substitute Systems in Puerto Rico. At 3:02 a.m. UTC, a major spike hit. A tiny burst, exactly matching the hydrogen line frequency of 1220 megahertz, the cosmic frequency of communication. It repeated, once every 22 seconds. For a full hour, it kept going without fail. Then it fundamentally changed. New modulation began riding the signal, faint at first, but recognizably mathematical. When radio engineers broke down the waveform, they were stunned. It wasn't simple noise anymore. It was sophisticated data. Inside the carrier pulse were binary packets, perfect ones and zeros. A structured, intelligent signal, an unambiguous message. When translated into raster graphics, the simplest visualization possible, one broken pixelated image emerged from the raw data. It was 3 curving spiral lines interlocked. 3 paths, 3 arcs intersecting across a central point. Not human, not random, not meaningless. And once again, the 22 seconds returned. That persistent rhythm, that perfect beat. Naturally, somebody inside the control room asked, "Is this a countdown?" But somebody else whispered the real question. What happens when it reaches Earth? Because 3i Atlas wasn't slowing down anymore. It was accelerating. It had now begun the final phase of its mission. As the object accelerated out of its Mars flyby, astronomers expected gravity to pull it away from us. But 3i Atlas didn't follow the expected path. It adjusted its course, just a small shift, but mathematically impossible for a natural object. It angled slightly, but deliberately, toward Earth. At that exact, crucial moment, the spiral symbol from the binary transmission repeated itself. This time over radio frequencies detected all across the planet: Australia, Spain, Japan, Chile. It wasn't just massive space antennas picking it up anymore. Ordinary ham radios could hear the faint echo. The signal was becoming pervasive. Inside a classified signal lab at JPL, 2 engineers, Marissa Cho and Danny Ruiz, decoded more binary packets. The spirals were not random doodles. They were part of a complex sequence. Every cycle revealed a new, distinct pattern. At first, the spirals were rough. Then they grew clearer, like a sophisticated construction blueprint being loaded line by line. Ruiz stared at the screen. "This isn't a picture," he said quietly. "It's a process." Then, something else appeared in the data that stole all of their attention. A second image emerged next to the spirals, ghosted, faint, but absolutely unmistakable. It was Earth. Our planet. A perfect outline, tagged by 3 incredibly precise coordinate points. And those 3 points matched 3 exact, specific, and anomalous locations. A point in the vast, remote South Pacific Ocean. A point in the desolate, ancient Sahara Desert. And a point in the frigid, heavily restricted landscape of Antarctica. Those weren't random coordinates. They were destinations, targets, or worse, activation sites for a system already in place. And the powerful radio telescopes confirmed it. 3i Atlas was continuing its approach. It was coming for those points. 3 dots on a map. 3 exact Earth locations tagged in the transmission. Each of them was carefully, specifically chosen. The first coordinate pointed to Point Nemo, the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. It is the most isolated spot on the planet, so remote that astronauts are often the closest humans to it. Most people don't know this, but Point Nemo is a highly active, though classified, site for world governments. It is primarily used as a spacecraft graveyard, the final resting place where NASA, Roscosmos, and other space agencies crash their dead satellites and huge old space stations. More than 260 spacecraft have been deliberately dropped into the water there, including the 143-ton Russian Mir space station. It is a technological dumping ground, a massive watery grave for our orbital secrets. And now, 3i Atlas was pointing right at it. The second coordinate pointed directly to the vast Sahara Desert, specifically an area near the Tenere region of Niger. It is desolate, utterly silent, and geologically ancient. At that precise location, archaeologists once found unique microscopic glass crystals melted into the sand, created by instantaneous temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun itself. Mainstream science blamed ancient, massive meteor impacts for the melted glass. But forensic fragments found nearby tell a subtly different story. The sand wasn't just melted, it was shaped. It was cut into near-perfect symmetry. Someone or something used intense, directed energy here long before human history was recorded. Old U.S. military satellite images from the 1980s showed massive geometric patterns carved faintly beneath the shifting dunes, kilometer-wide circles connected by straight, perfect lines. Something lies buried and waiting beneath that desert. And then the third coordinate. The coldest, deadliest, most forbidden place on Earth, Antarctica. This one pointed near Dome Sea, a highly restricted research zone. Satellites caught something there back in 2011, a unique heat signature hundreds of feet under the ice, pulsing rhythmically, then suddenly vanishing. When glaciologists attempted to drill near that area, the military instantly, definitively shut down the entire operation. No access was allowed. Why would multiple sovereign governments guard a vast block of ice with such paranoia, unless the 3 sides were inextricably connected? Point Nemo, the deep ocean technological dumping ground, the Sahara Desert, buried, shaped glass and geometry. Antarctica, a massive pulsing heat source beneath the ice. Ocean, land, ice. 3 points spread evenly across the globe. A perfect, impossible triangulation. Someone or something on 3i Atlas was marking those locations for a profound reason. It was a pattern. It was a map. It was, definitively, a system. The chilling realization emerged. These 3 points, when precisely plotted on a globe, form a nearly perfect equilateral triangle. A geometric design so precise, it cannot be accidental. Earth was being scanned as a single, coordinated system. For days, scientists desperately tried to dismiss the finding. They called it coordinate coincidence. But when specialized geophysicists overlaid deep seismic maps, magnetic anomaly data, and ancient alignment patterns across Earth, something impossible appeared. Those 3 locations weren't just marked by 3i Atlas. They were already connected, not on the surface, but deep underground. A specialized interagency team from the European Geoscience Agency ran a deep tomography scan of the entire planet. When they enhanced the density variations beneath the crust, a network of colossal, non-natural structures revealed itself. These were massive shapes, spanning hundreds of kilometers. They were not natural. They were definitively built. Buried below the Earth were colossal triangular foundations aligned perfectly with the 3 surface locations. These were not simple rock formations. They possessed unmistakable symmetry, repeating geometric layers and internal cavities. Someone or something constructed them before humans ever walked the Earth. The Point Nemo structure was the smallest, just over 40 kilometers across, buried beneath the seafloor. It resonated faintly with low-frequency vibrations every 24 seconds. Note the subtle, critical shift in the pulse rhythm, 24 seconds, indicating a new phase of activation. This was the exact same, persistent pulse now detected in the 3i Atlas signal. The Sahara structure was partially fossilized in ancient volcanic bedrock. Its walls were lined with a smooth, glass-like material, just like the melted desert surface glass above it. It was clearly made to withstand unimaginable heat and pressure, waiting for a signal. But it was what lay under Antarctica that sent a genuine code terror through every agency monitoring the discovery. It was an object 180 kilometers wide. It was perfectly hexagonal in shape. It was electromagnetically sealed, and it was active. When they isolated seismic data from Dome C, they realized something horrifying. Beneath 3 miles of ice, something was powered. Something that had been inert for perhaps millions of years was now warming up. Geophysicist Dr. Annika Ree from the National Research Institute was the first to say the truth out loud. We're not detecting geothermal activity. We're detecting machinery. Shortly after her paper was retracted, her research access was revoked, and she vanished from the public eye. Suddenly, everything made sense. 3i Atlas was not just passing through. It came here with a deliberate purpose. It scanned Earth, mapped 3 buried ancient locations, and then sent a pulse, a 24-second signal. It was a specific command to an embedded network. Readings from beneath Antarctica began to shift immediately after that moment. The pulse from the comet synchronized with the pulse under the ice, and then they locked together. At first, scientists hypothesized it was an echo, but then a nightmare realization emerged. The pulses weren't coming from space anymore. They were coming from beneath Antarctica. Something down there had received the signal. Something was actively, powerfully responding. And then, one more signal surfaced. Not from Earth. Not from 3i Atlas. But from somewhere else entirely in deep space. Something else had heard the network's activation, and it was already moving toward us. News never broke about the seismic structures. There were no press conferences. Just a profound, desperate silence and layers of classification. The pulse continued, every 24 seconds, unbroken, planet-wide. And people, even those unaware of the signal, started to feel its effects. Migratory birds flew off course, whales changed their deep-sea direction, and beehives collapsed. But then came something far worse. A new, massive object was detected beyond Neptune, crossing into the solar system. Unlike 3i Atlas, this one announced itself with an impossible visible speed. The first detection came from the Very Long Baseline Array, VLBA. It picked up a moving point of infrared light, steady, bright, and perfectly controlled. Preview. Bridge. We track the impossible acceleration of KX-47, a 7-ship convoy now hurtling toward the Earth node, and reveal the final image that confirms its ultimate purpose, a gigantic portal. Then it accelerated with a terrifying lack of inertia. Fast. Its speed increased from 30 kilometers per second to 80 kilometers per second, then reached an astonishing 150 kilometers per second. This speed is faster than any human spacecraft has ever traveled, and it was still accelerating. More importantly, it was not following a gravitational path. It was actively, surgically navigating. Someone in the command structure made a decisive connection. When they projected the trajectory of KX-47 inward, it didn't head toward the Sun or Jupiter. It was coming directly toward Earth, right toward the Antarctica node, the one now pounding out silent seismic responses from deep beneath the ice. KX-47 was not here by accident. It was arriving on a pre-calculated, non-negotiable intercept course. Meanwhile, seismic vibrations beneath Dome C intensified dramatically. The harmonics coming from deep under Antarctica changed from simple pulses into complex, repeating patterns. Engineers translated the signal visually and found that it wasn't just noise. It was structured, a waveform too regular to be natural. 3I Atlas sent the first pulse. Antarctica responded. Now, KX-47 was replying with a core signal. A full, 3-way, silent communication had begun. Governments immediately panicked behind closed doors. Project Argus, a hidden branch of the Deep Space Network, was instantly activated. A classified no-fly zone over Antarctica was declared. Cargo aircraft detected flying toward Dome C suddenly vanished from flight logs. Satellites were shifted into prime position to cover the South Pole. Something massive, something humanity was never meant to see, was now being prepared for entry. But not everyone obeyed the blackout. A private Japanese satellite, the Hibiki 5, pointed infrared sensors at Dome C and caught the decisive event. The ice was cracking from below. The footage showed fractures in the ice stretching in straight lines, not chaotic like natural fissures. These were geometric. They formed precise angles, merging outward in spirals. Exactly like a massive buried door was unlocking from the inside. Under 3 miles of solid ice, something enormous was shifting, rotating, and preparing for emergence. And then came the definitive leak. Someone inside the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, leaked 5 still frames from Hibiki 5. They spread across the internet before being deleted, but the dissemination was too fast. Frame 3 showed it clearly, faint but undeniable. A ring of intense blue light under the Antarctic ice, rotating, powered, and intensely active. For years, conspiracy theorists talked about secret Antarctic bases. They were dismissed. But the truth was always literally buried there. Something ancient, something engineered, something waiting for a specific signal from space. The chilling realization was immediate. 3I Atlas was never the threat. It was merely the key. The newest tracking data from NASA's Deep Space Network revealed one final chilling update that changed the entire strategic calculus. KX-47 isn't a single object, it's a convoy, a fleet. The signal data didn't lie. Behind the lead object, KX-47, there are now 6 smaller objects moving in a perfect hexagonal formation. They are not orbiting it chaotically. They are flying with it. Same speed, same direction, same maneuvering curve. And every single one of them, just like 3I Atlas, pulses with that same unnatural 24-second frequency, a cadence now fully embedded inside Earth's magnetic field. This is highly organized, technological coordination. The James Webb Space Telescope turned its full power toward the incoming fleet. When the Webb team overlaid the spectral signatures from 3I Atlas, the match was exact. A technological fingerprint, the same nickel-fused signature, the same metallic vapor trails, the same absence of organic compounds, the same engineered composition. All 7 incoming objects share a perfectly synchronized thermal pattern, like a series of interconnected heartbeats beating in unison. The order of events was no longer random. First came 3I Atlas, triggering a specific pulse signal. Then Earth responded, awakening buried seismic nodes across the planet. Now, a fleet of 7 ships is entering from deep space, headed straight toward the signal origin point in Antarctica. Something has been awakened. Something is responding to a call, and now, something massive is coming to us. We finally have a projected arrival time. If current, highly restricted projections hold, the convoy will reach Earth's orbital boundary in 9 months. 9 months. The Deep Space Network has been trying to ping the objects directly with broadcast messages. They aren't answering, but they are listening. Last week, Earth sent nothing, but KX-47 responded anyway. It changed course slightly, but deliberately. It adjusted its speed and vector to perfectly match Earth's rotation and orbital velocity. Whatever this is, it is now actively and consciously tracking us. And then came the final, ghostly transmission from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, captured just moments before contact with it was permanently lost. A blurred still frame, distorted by radiation, but seen by enough people before it was buried. A distinct geometric structure was spotted on the lead object, KX-47. Not random, not natural, built. Shaped like a massive, complex portal ring. The leaked Mars orbiter frame shouldn't exist. Every agency denies its authenticity, but the image was real. Too many independent analysts saved it. Too many pattern analysts confirmed the same thing. There is architecture on the lead object, KX-47. A ring-shaped structure, symmetrical, segmented, and glowing from within. It is not a scan artifact. It is fully, undeniably machined. Even worse, it matches something on Earth with frightening precision. Buried in Antarctic ice, miles below the surface, there is a structure, one that has been privately and secretly studied for over 43 years by a coalition of U.S. Antarctic research teams under the project name, Project Echo Spiral. On the surface, it was listed as a geothermal mapping expedition. In reality, it was an extraction operation. The extraction of something they found by accident, a ring, perfectly circular, composed of an unknown, non-terrestrial alloy, measuring 140 meters in diameter, half buried in the bedrock. A ring that matches exactly, shape for shape, segment for segment, the structure now seen on KX-47, identical. Same proportions, same energy nodes, same outer edge, ridges designed for alignment, same faint spiral symbol on one of the internal arms. And that symbol, the spiral, appears again and again throughout human history. Nazca, Newgrange, Mesopotamian tablets. This shape does not belong to any one human culture. It is universal. It is older than writing, older than agriculture. What if it was never an abstract symbol? What if it was a technical, functional warning? According to internal Echo Spiral documents, engineers weren't trying to study the ring's history. They were trying desperately to turn it off, because every 24 seconds, it emitted a pulse. The exact same hum, now echoing through Earth's electromagnetic field. This was never a coincidence. Someone didn't just stumble upon our solar system. They're coming back to a place they engineered. The Echo Spiral facility was never meant to go public. It was a bunker. Buried under 40 meters of reinforced steel and ice, shielded from every satellite. No data was supposed to ever get out, until it broke containment and something forced them to transmit a final, desperate warning. That message was immediately buried, censored, erased from the official incident log. But not before one engineer, Dr. Elias Coring, risked everything to leak it. He vanished 3 days later. The message he released was only 9 seconds long, and yet it said everything. The facility's final transmission was triggered by the moment 3I Atlas passed Mars. The buried structures woke up. They spoke not in sound, not in language, but in a specific, repeating frequency. The machines began generating synchronized pulses of electromagnetic energy. The signal contained structure. It carried a recognizable pattern. When the engineers at Echo Spiral slowed down the waveform, they found something beyond astonishing. Hidden inside the pulses was math. Precise, perfect, intentional math. That's when a red alert hit the control decks. Something had changed inside the largest buried structure, codenamed Gate 1. It began to emit a sustained, low-frequency tone that shook the entire facility. The structure was building immense energy. They tried to shut it down. They failed. The lockdown alarm triggered. 9 seconds later, the facility transmitted its last-ever message. It wasn't sent through NASA. It was broadcast through seismic modulation, encoded directly into the Earth itself. But when decrypted, the transmission contained only 3 lines. The network is active. It was not built by them. Do not respond. After that, silence. The facility went completely dark. The true identity of the builders, the meaning of the spiral, and the purpose of the gateway are only the first questions in this cosmic mystery. The story is far from over. If this deep analysis changed how you see interstellar visitors and our place in the universe, watch this next on the strangest molecule signatures detected far beyond Neptune to keep the story going.